for data integration, targeting, and delivery. So I think it's really of utmost importance that we have a setting the scene presentation, and we are very happy to have a colleague from Germany calling in. So we have with us online, I hope. I don't know if he's online, but he is the coordinator for the sector initiative Social Protection and Global Alliances for Social Protection at GIZ. So he also recently, with other colleagues, hosted a big conference in Bangkok on AI and social protection. So there was a 2.5-day conference, and we exchanged on the latest trends and drivers. And I think he will bring also the international experience from this conference to his presentation. So please give a warm welcome or good morning to Ralf Rademacher.
Thank you, Joost, and good morning, colleagues. Well, not good morning, it's lunchtime your end. Thank you for inviting. I would have really loved to join you in Karachi, but unfortunately I couldn't. It is my privilege to join this session on digital infrastructure for adaptive social protection, and I'm particularly privileged as I'm aware of the long history on the one hand, and but also the quite rapid development in Pakistan in this domain over the past few years. I think the pandemic as well as the unfortunate floods have really helped to accelerate the developments. Just to maybe point to the work done by BISP on the dynamic registry, as well as the work done by several of the state governments. But I'm not here to tell you about the work in Pakistan in general. There you certainly know better. Let us take a step back and actually look at the reasoning why at all we should be talking about digital infrastructure for social protection. We are all aware that we still have a huge number of people not covered by any benefit of social protection or inadequately covered. And what we want from modern information technology, so from digital infrastructure, is to help make our social protection systems, on the one hand, more transparent and inclusive, but also to make the systems more efficient. And what we have learned over the past years, increasingly to really make them more adaptive to changing needs. We are moving from a scenario where we have different programs working in, at best, very functional, but working not integrated and running in silos to some degrees. Digital technology can help with the data sharing to create systems which are interoperable, which exchange data where one system, one hand knows what the other is doing. And I think that's what we are all aiming for. There is very often in systems which are not using digital technology is a relatively long wait or process for beneficiaries to either join and or to receive benefits, and we can use digital technology to make payments faster and secure. The entire question about whom to target and whom to reach, when we know that poverty is dynamic, that shocks affect people differently, is a question of using information, and information which is ideally not yesterday's information to predict today's need, but today's information to predict today's need. And I think in the pandemic, Pakistan has given a good example on how to essentially apply ad hoc, for support and declaring need. And I think that's one example on how we should try to understand, the kind of interactive interplay between the citizen and the state. Technology might even enable us to move away from using today's information for today's need to also use today's information to predict need, to basically prevent people from falling. And that's something which maybe the use of AI can help do. And for that, we also need a robust system of information technology, digital infrastructure as a base. So targeting the right people at the right time is what we're aiming at. And with that, it is also, and I mentioned it in the example just now, the inefficient response to shocks, which we very often have, because that's one of the elements of changing needs in the integration of early warning systems or information which is being received from such systems can help us to predict it. So what are the key elements of digital infrastructure for social protection? There are, on the one hand, systems which are shared across programs, which are, for instance, social registries or beneficiary registries. They are social protection specific and shared across programs. There are systems which are also shared across sectors, so beyond social protection, a civil registration, vital statistics, an ID system, a digital payment platform. These are examples of systems which are shared across sectors. And then there are program-specific systems. So, for instance, a program management information system is processing such kind of information. And if we are managing to connect these systems by interoperability, and interoperability means predefined standards, how data can flow between the systems, the processes defined on why and in which situations data will flow and it is exchanged. You know, which system is maybe, if there is conflicting data, is superior in terms of decision making and so on. So if these processes are predefined and we have interoperability, we can design systems where an early warning system would, for instance, trigger a payment right before any shock occurs, strengthening the resilience of people and households, so that we essentially try to not have so heavy dips into poverty, and vulnerability is reduced overall. Excuse me. And I think in the context of the Global Shield, which is being discussed in Pakistan, that's probably something which you might already be looking into. So what are the prerequisites for a good use of digital infrastructure in social protection? And it can be looked at, you know, the different blocks which we are introducing, as well as an overall game plan. So one of the things which is very important is to identify a clear joint vision. I think Pakistan, the federated system, has to basically have a good joint vision on how to get these layers in a good interplay. In Germany, we have a federated system too, so that's, you know, having an agreement on the clear sharing, the division of labor, also in the information system, how to basically build on each other, and that's the the next step, and have an implementation plan as a roadmap on how to essentially evolve the system, building on the elements which is there, replacing elements which become obsolete, modernizing these things. So from the joint vision, turning that into a plan where there is a coherent movement evolving out of that, to establish system and data governance. So to know who's responsible for maintaining what are the standards for the system, and how the data management, data governance is being executed. To capacitate all levels from those which are using data in the field or which might be collecting data, to those which are which are managing the data at state and national level, and or also on the policy making side, on saying, you know, what are the political and legislative frameworks which are required to the ongoing maintenance and upgrade of the system in order to really keep the system working well. Because we might always bear in mind, you know, using digital infrastructure, at the end, the thing which we are measured on is can we always deliver to the citizen? And there is a system failure. Never can be any reason, for delaying any delivery. So we always need to have a very robust system, and we need to have a backup plan in case there are certain elements not working as we want them to work. Let me give you 2 hints on support which is available. So on the one hand, a digital convergence initiative and Open IMIS, and I'll talk quickly about both, because at GIZ we are involved in both of these initiatives, which operate on the one hand at global level, but in partnership with many countries around the globe. And so what is the Digital Convergence Initiative, which I think you've heard about these days in your conference already? The Digital Convergence Initiative is an international initiative supporting the digital transformation of social protection systems. So it is open to all countries and development partners, think tanks, academia. There are contributions from private sector too. So it's a broad alliance, and part of that work is looking at developing interoperability standards. And interoperability standards are useful because, as we spoke about, trying to create interoperability between systems, a social registry and an early warning system, for instance, there is an advantage of not reinventing the wheel time and again, in every state, for instance, but in defining a certain standards on how that link is being created. And it could be done, in Pakistan only, but it is the same logic of information which needs to be exchanged in every country across the globe. So it's better to essentially invest in a standard and use a system which is standard compliant, because then you can unplug that system once you feel it needs to be replaced and replace it with a system which also is adherent to the standard. So it keeps the system future-proof. And so we are trying in the DCI to develop these standards for various interfaces, to ID systems, to payment system, to a disability register, to integrated beneficiary register, to the CRVS, for instance. And we've I think we've gotten also contributions from Pakistan and the standard committees, and we are working with digital public goods, so open source software solutions, for instance, to have them apply these standards, but also proprietary software is implementing these standards, so there is a broad usage of these standards too. And with one of the DCI partners, the International Labour Organization, there is, for instance, work in KP going on supported by DCI on the development of a register, of a beneficiary register too. Let me give you one example of a different global initiative, which is the digital public good. A digital public good is an open source approach, accessible. And the interesting part of, or let's say what makes a good digital public good, is that it has very active and vibrant user, implementer, and IT, so developer communities. And Open IMIS is such a digital public good with very strong communities. Communities means from across the globe, people are able to develop and modify it. So we are overcoming, with the use of such an open source approach, vendor logins, but also enable all vendors, all IT developers in countries to be part of it, so that there is really development and tailoring software solutions to the local need. And Open IMIS is a digital public good which is supporting the management of health and social protection programs, of quite different ones, from social health protection, so health insurance, to beneficiary registry, social registry, cash transfers. There's work in on public works program, which is currently implemented in some countries in Africa, for instance. Open IMIS is implemented in 13 countries right now, and in quite a range of programs, has some AI modules which are being used as well. So it is one of these pieces which I can use to basically build a digital infrastructure. As one example, it's a modular approach and can be used in elements. Open source, and just to avoid a confusion, and allow me that as a last word, is not to be confused with open data. So it is a system which is run on local service with a strong data sovereignty, so that there is no that there is the full sovereignty of the state on the data respected. It's just an approach to become part of a larger global community to use the most modern information systems which we can offer. And I'll leave it with that. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ralph. So I think you really set the scene. We know now, or we have a refreshed reminder why digital infrastructure matter. We know about the prerequisites for digital social protection. We heard 2 examples for support for digital social protection. But as you already mentioned, we have also very interesting cases and approaches here in Pakistan to share. And I have 3 colleagues who are going to share, I call that stories from the field. And we request them to go up one by one, 10 minutes each, to share their story. We will not be able to ask them these very specific questions that will probably be generated in the heads of some of the delegates here. So we encourage you over lunchtime to ask them all the difficult questions or call for a meeting during the open space. So without further ado, the first speaker is no stranger to you. You heard him speaking a couple of times. He is the Director General at the Benazir Income Support Program. So please welcome again Naveed Akbar.
इसमें एक हाइपरलिंक है वो फिर वहीं से चला लीजिएगा एक हाइपरलिंक आखिर में फिर वहीं से चला लीजिएगा इससे तो नहीं चलेगा हाइपरलिंक मैं बता दूंगा आपको ठीक है Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Jose. So basically my presentation will focus on the case studies more about how the integrated integrated and digital transformation is required for responding to any disaster. So how important to have the digital infrastructure in place, and I think there are 2 main pillars in terms of delivery system. One is to have an integrated database, and the other one is the payment platform that you have to respond to any shock. So I'll be quickly sharing the strengths of Benazir Income Support Program that we built over the last few years, and we'll share the 2 case studies before and after the digital transformation and data integration. So if you can place the presentation. So quickly, I'll start with the background of, you probably all know what Benazir Income Support Program is currently doing. We have a variety of conditional and unconditional cash transfer program. Our budget is 598 billion for the current financial year. 474 billion is for unconditional cash transfer, and we have 2 conditional cash transfer. One is linked with education, covering almost 10 million children from primary to higher secondary, with a budget of 77 billion, and then we have a health and nutrition conditional cash transfer with 42 billion budget, having 2.5 million enrollment of pregnant lactating women and children under 2 years. We are focusing more on prevention stunting through through this conditional cash transfer program linked with health and nutrition. So all our programs are actually based on, So all our programs are based on the National Socioeconomic Registry that we built. So I'll quickly go through the features of National Socioeconomic Registry. National Socioeconomic Registry is working as the targeting platform for all major social protection programs of the country. We are using proxy mean test approach to assess the socioeconomic status of the household, and NSCR has evolved over the years as the most reliable data set used by the variety of stakeholders, both in public and private sector, policy think tanks and development agencies for designing and implementation their social protection programs. So quickly, the journey that we traveled from paper-based to a digital dynamic registry. So we started back in 2008 with parliamentarian-based targeting with very limited coverage of 1.98 million families identified using the parliamentarian-based targeting to provide the cash assistance of unconditional cash transfer. Then we introduced a poverty scorecards survey, which was basically a paper-based census survey started back in 2010. We took 1 year to complete this exercise. It was a door-to-door survey of entire country. We used 23 variables and we covered 27 million households all across the country. And on the basis of that data collection, on the basis of the available budget that we had at that time, we identified 4.4 million families to provide the cash assistance. Although we transited from parliamentarian-based targeting to a scientific targeting mechanism, but there were still issues of coverage and content errors due to manual data collection. And another criticism that we faced is regarding the non-entry and exit for almost 9 years. So it was a static database for a period of 9 years. So learning lessons out of that phase, we designed another door-to-door survey between 2019 to 2022. And this time around, we had 43 variables for the data collection, and we covered 35 million households. And on the basis of that data collection, we identified 9 million eligible families for providing the cash assistance. So with this approach, we used digital means for the data collection, learning lessons from our 2010-11 experience. So we collected data on the tablets, which actually helped us to improve the coverage. But the coverage was improved, but with door-to-door survey exercise, it remained again the static data. So in order to address this issue of not having a static database, in order to ensure that we are having minimum inclusion and exclusion error, we designed a dynamic national socioeconomic registry back in 2023, which is still ongoing. And as of now, we have collected information of almost 19 million households through our desks. So all households who participated in 2022 survey in last 1.5 years, out of 35 million households, 19 million households have already reported themselves at the desk. So this registry is now not only a dynamic registry, but is also a shock responsive registry. So in case of any demographic change in the household, people can come and update their information at any point of time. And God forbid if they are facing any disaster, they can anytime after the disaster or during the disasters can approach to our desk and can update their socioeconomic status related information, which this facility was not available before 2023. So we used to carry out door-to-door survey exercise and then wait for another 5 years or 9 years to repeat that exercise again, which was not actually helping us, because country like Pakistan with 240 million population, large geographical area, especially Balochistan, mountainic areas, is very difficult to carry out door-to-door survey exercise after even every 5 years. So we can take example from our census. So the census that we carried out in 1998, we repeated that census, I think, in 2017. So we took almost 19 years to repeat that census exercise. So it's very difficult to carry out door-to-door survey exercise again. So that's why we introduced this dynamic registry, which has the feature of fresh registration to cover the missed out household, to address the discrepancies that we had from the door-to-door exercise, then demographic-related information, cyclic update. So now with the dynamic registry, we made this procedure or principle that no beneficiary can avail this benefit beyond 3 years. So if they are consider themselves as eligible beyond 3 years, they have to recertify themselves through our registry in order to continue getting the benefits from the program. Otherwise, they will be replaced with the non-beneficiaries who are currently not getting the benefits from the program. So now we are, collecting data through 647 registration desks that we established at the sea level. With the support of GIZ, we introduced 25 registration vehicles, 20 in Balochistan, 5 in Sindh to cover far-flung areas. And we are also, using home visits and hard-to-reach area sweep, having almost 1,000 operators all across the country to actually send them in at the Union Council level to collect the information. So you can see all the green dots here. So we are not only maintaining the database or status of the socioeconomic of the household, but we also have the GPS coordinates of 38.7 million households of the country. So, and I'll come to my last two slides and we'll let you know how important GIS coordinates are in terms of responding to any shock. Then evolution of technology enabled based payment systems. We started with Pakistan Post, a money order based payment system back in 2008. Then we introduced smart cards in 2010. We piloted mobile banking in 2010 again. Then we actually introduced the debit card in 2012. And we were distributing, largely payments were going through a debit card mechanism, which remained prevalent till 2016. And in 2016, we actually introduced biometric-based payment system, which is currently being implemented in order to disperse benefit to roughly 9.8 million families all across the country. Then we have two conditional cash transfers. So the conditional cash transfer education started back in 2010. A very basic Android application. We were, doing all the enrollments, all the data collection on paper, and then, transferring it to our digital systems. Then we engaged third party for manual data collection between 2015 to 2019. And in 2019, actually, we transited from a paper-based to technology-based data collection and enrollment system. And then in 2021, we linked it with NADRA to make it interoperable for real-time verification of the birth registrations to actually verify the eligibility criteria of the BIS beneficiary children in order to enroll them in the program. And now, in 2025, the conditional cash transfer for education is fully automated, linked with dynamic registry, linked with another database, and we have a real-time data collection information available in order to identify the compliant children in order to extend the conditional cash transfer assistance. Then the health and nutrition conditional cash transfer, we started back in 2020, 2021 with a basic Android application. And now we have in 2025, again integrated with the dynamic registry. This application is linked with another database for real-time verification of the birth registration of the child. And it's completely transformed, and we have all the components digitized through this application. So quickly, in my last 2 or 3 slides, I'm just sharing with you the impact of digital investments that we achieved over the period of last years, and the case studies of the emergency response. So the impact of digital transformation was the improved coverage and inclusion, enhanced efficiency and accuracy through interoperability. Digital payments ensure transparency and financial inclusions, and now Benazir Income Support Program becomes a shock-responsive social protection entity from last few years. So I'm sharing 2 case studies with you, before and after digital transformation. So in COVID, in 2019, we faced COVID, and the impact was no economic activity, business was shut down, there was no savings, and informal workers got major hit. So when COVID hit, government asked Benazir Income Support Program to actually identify the vulnerable populations to extend the financial assistance during the COVID period. And at that time, we were maintaining 2011 database, which was like 8 years old database. And when government asked us to identify the vulnerable population, we were not confident that if we use the 2011 database, we were able to identify the right people for the financial assistance. So we were asked to have 5 categories of population in order to provide the benefits. So bottom 3 quintiles. Then 1 category was introduced with the funding of provincial governments. Then 1 category was related to the labor category, and 1 was people who are not in the registry. So what we did is since our database was old, so we had to rely on certain administrative databases to cross-verify the socioeconomic status of the household, like the vehicles ownership database, land ownership database, mobile phones consumptions database. So these type of databases we were forced to use in order to identify the eligible population. So we had both NSER database and the administrative database for exclusion, and we were able to identify 14.9 million families. We established special touch points at the sea level, and we, with the help of biometric-based payment systems, we were able to disburse 216 billion rupees during the COVID period. And since the nature of the data, like it was static and it was old, and we had to filter it through administrative database, we took almost 2 months to respond to that shock. Then we have all this, introduction of dynamic registry, fresh data collection, improving our payment systems after the COVID-19. And with all these changes, then we faced flood back in 2022. And during the flood, we actually, with the support of NDMA, if you can click, you are operating the presentation? If you can click the NDMA, there's a hyperlink on that. So with the support of NDMA, we were able to identify the flood-affected areas. Yeah, so you can see, so this is basically the flood-affected areas that we identified with the help of NDMA. Next, and you can see these orange dots is basically the population we identified affected by the flood and were also in the bottom 2 quintiles. So this was the advantage of having the GPS coordinate of each and every household. So government tasked us to identify bottom 2 population, bottom 2 quintiles population in order to provide the financial assistance. So we quickly identified the affected population living in bottom 2 quintile. With the help of partner banks, provided cash assistance to roughly 2.76 million eligible families. And with updated database, integrated database with NDMA and other entities, we were able to respond to this shock within 10 days. Like within 10 days, we were actually there to start the payments to the affected population. So this is the difference of having the updated information and not having the updated information. So I'm just leaving you with this slide that with the help of interoperability, at the moment, our database infrastructure look like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Naveed. And you're leaving us with a complicated slide. So I think, but it's a popular slide. Many people take a picture. And you can find the presentation, hopefully, via our QR code. If not, it will be there in a short while. So I was informed that that the next presenter we will shuffle. So we're going for the next story to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and we have with us Mr. Mohammed Ismail Khan. He is actually a disaster risk DRR specialist at the PDMA in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Yeah, it's written there. And he will share a story for the next 10, 12 minutes. We have one speaker less, so I'm allocating some extra time to everybody. So please give a warm welcome to Mr. Mohammed Ismail Khan, Yusuf Sai.
Thank you, Joe. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Ismail Khan Yousafzai, a disaster risk management specialist from PDMA Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Actually, the topic is on data infrastructure. So we are currently working with in collaboration with GIZ, and we are developing provincial disaster risk information system, which is actually a MHURA, multi-hazard vulnerability risk assessment system. But this system is a little more in detail in compared to the NetCat model. Next, please. There are some issues why we conceive this model. There are some issues in the existing databases, the issues of the integration, the coordination, and the even the issue on the quality assurance of the data. So that's why we are conceived this idea, and PDMA is now working on this PDRIS, and this will be a pilot study which will support. Actually, there is a gap between the existing data repository for the social protection in whole of the country, and that gap is the hazard information, the climate shocks information. So we are trying to develop the hazard modeling, like floods modeling, drought modeling, heat wave modeling, and some other risks which is posed by the vulnerable communities in Pakistan. So we try to cover this gap and integrate this system with the Benazir Income Support Program and other social protection databases and come up with accurate calculation of the exact case load of the social protection. GIZ Pakistan and PDMA collaboration. One is piloting multi-hazard vulnerability risk assessment in 2 districts of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And second component of this project is to establish a provincial disaster risk information sharing platform, PDRIS. This is a simple approach. We are following the national MHURA guidelines developed by the National Disaster Management Authority. There are clear steps in the guidelines that the very first we will start this, the hazard selection, then the hazard assessment, then exposure and vulnerability assessment, then coping capacity assessment, risk treatment, and in the last is the geospatial data repository and PDRIS. Exposure and vulnerability assessment. This is the step where we can integrate the social protection NACR database and the hazard and risk assessment database. In vulnerability and vulnerability assessment, we are using the SOVIS tools, Social Vulnerability Risk Assessment Tool, in the Social Vulnerability Indexing model, a model developed by the UNDRR, the UN agencies. There are certain social indicators which can be disturbed by the climate and disaster shocks. These are the education-related indicators, health-related indicators, socio-economic indicator, infrastructures-related indicators, and demographic indicators. So currently, which in my opinion, there is a need to comparatively study the assessment tools of the the Benazir Income Support Program and the SOVIS tools, which is approved by the NDMA and proposed by the NDMA under the NDMA guideline of MHURA, that whether the Benazir Income Support Program assessment tools have enough cover to for the climate and disaster shocks, or there is a need to integrate some further variables to capture the household vulnerability conditions during disasters. So this is this exercise we are also aimed to conduct in our these 2 districts pilot studies. Addition to the issue which I highlighted, that we should have to have a comparative study of the variables. We also have to look into the coverage, because in most of the cases the household vulnerability during peacetime, during no disaster time, will be at certain level, which will qualify for the social protection. But during disasters, the level may be enhanced. And there are some studies in Pakistan also, in Sindh province, during 2022 floods, that the case load increased by the floods. The household vulnerability level and scoring were disturbed by the floods, and there should be some sort of the crisis modifier thresholds in the existing NACR database, that the household, the qualification score may be enhanced during disasters. In the second component, there is an issue that different organizations and different entities conducting multi-hazards vulnerability risk assessment, but the issue is the disaster risk information sharing platform, a unified platform where all these information should be hosted with a uniform format and a unified data quality insurance, which will be available to all the stakeholders. So this is the mandate of the PDMA and NDMAs, that they should have their risk, hazard and risk assessment data. The data should be on uniform format and should be available to all the stakeholders, including the social protection stakeholders. So the idea that we are going to develop a provincial disaster risk information system, which will be a web-based module in a geospatial database platform, and the data will be available to all the stakeholders. This is just one example that how we can integrate this hazard and risk data with the social protection. This is one of the example in the flowchart that during floods, we have the historical flood and rain and temperature data from the Pakistan Met Department databases. Then the flood extent model, which will be run by the PDMAs or NDMA. Then we have element at risk, the vulnerability data of the different line departments. We have a lot of databases in our provincial line departments, like the school data, the hospital data, and the data, different element at risk data. Then the geospatial data of the satellite platforms from the SPARCO. It will come to the flood risk modeling under the provincial disaster risk information system. Then the data will, at the same time, I will propose here that it will not be probabilistic risk modeling, it will be a deterministic risk modeling, because we have the river gauge stations in upper reaches, and we can feed into the system the value, like if at a certain point there is 1 lakh or 2 lakh cubic flow of the water entering, then in downstream, what will be the effect of this data? So the deterministic modeling we will be performed, and then on the last stage, this system will be integrated with the Benazir Income Support Program database or any other social protection database, and we will come up with the lead time, like one mentioned in the previous session that 10 days lead time, or 2 days lead time, or 3 days lead time. But for Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, we are expecting only 2 or 3 days lead time. The advantage of this whole system will be multi-hazard risk, vulnerability and risk assessment and establishment of the PDRIS is the interventions for policymakers and planners, risk-sensitive planning for development, risk-sensitive planning, adopt your social protection and community-level disaster risk management, land use planning, safer administration, advocacy, climate change impact, and future scenario. So these are all the benefits of this system, and one of the beneficiary of the system will be the social protection mechanism and the adopt your social protection sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohammed Ismail Khan, for presenting that. I'm sure, again, this will trigger a lot of technical questions. Please seek him out later, and if you have any questions for him, find him.
Yes.
No, we're not doing Q&A now, sir. We are doing...
Okay.
So I'm inviting everybody to speak to you either during the open space or during the lunch break. Thank you very much, sir. And last but not least, we have one more example or one case study. It's coming from Mr. Mabsha Hussain. He's a manager for disaster risk reduction at the Ministry of Planning and Development and Special Initiatives in Islamabad. He's online, I believe. Is that correct? So then I hand over to Mr. Mabsha.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon all.
1 second, we can't see you yet. Before, just hold on a second. I think any moment we should be able to see you. Our technicians, yes, now we can see you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Please display the presentation.
We are changing the presentation. 1 second, sir.
Yeah. In the meanwhile, let me introduce my organization. This is a National Disaster Risk Management Fund. It was conceived in 2016 and operationalized in 2018. The purpose of this fund was to enhance the Pakistan resilience to climate and other natural hazards and disasters, and to strengthen the technical and financial capability of the government of Pakistan to quickly respond to the climatic and natural hazards and disaster, and to reduce the socioeconomic and fiscal vulnerability of the country. And for this purpose, there were 3 distinctive outputs. One is the establishment of this organization itself, operational and running. It has been done. Then the investment in DRR, climate change, and DRF, disaster risk financing. So far, we have invested over $300 million for DRR mitigation project, adaptation project, and disaster risk financing. Then we have a separate component of disaster risk financing. Under that component, we prepare the disaster risk financing strategy for the Pakistan, and that is now approved, and we are just preparing the implementation plan. And under that strategy, the other component was the development of natural catastrophe modeling. So we are now working for development of some instrument for risk transfer and for insurance, specifically for the public infrastructure, and at the same time for the people to involve the insurance sector and private sector to play their role. I'm waiting for the presentation.
So the presentation is up. You can start, sir. We are seeing the NetCat model scoped. I hope you can see it too.
I'm not actually getting the presentation here.
1 second.
Yes, now it's here.
Please go ahead.
This natural catastrophe modeling, was conceived first time in Pakistan under the probabilistic modeling. So earlier we were having databases in piecemeal format and particularly in deterministic pattern, but this is first time because for the insurance sector and for the actuarial calculation we need the probabilistic modeling based on the best international practices. So we started with four main primary perils like flood, drought, earthquake, and cyclone. But during the execution of the project by SPARCO, the National Space Agency, we added further perils like the urban flooding, flash flooding, heat waves, landslide, tsunami, and storm surge. Now it has 9 to 10 perils. Again, few perils are covering the whole country, but few perils like landslide, the only targeted area. So we are in, it's not one-time cut-off activity. We are in continuous process of updating all the information. So this is the scope, and we are in the process to add few more perils like glove and smoke like this. So this is always on. Next slide, please. Now the modeling process is probabilistic risk modeling as per the global best practices. We started with a hazard module based on the return period, historical data events, long-term data sets, and then varying frequencies and severities. And after establishing this hazard module for all the perils, we went to the exposure module. And what are the assets and critical assets at risk? What are the exposures of the population, crops, livestock, infrastructure in the area where disaster event or a particular return period may occur? Based on that, then we calculated the vulnerability. Under this model, the degree, the susceptibility to which the exposed elements can be affected or damaged during a disaster, and physical vulnerabilities to build up infrastructure and social vulnerabilities of the population. And finally, the risk and loss estimation. Risk calculation, the probabilistic risk calculation was done for all the peril-wise and the cumulative one. But the important part is that first time in Pakistan, we calculated the loss estimation in certain scenario. What will be the loss in dollar terms or rupee terms? For example, the average annual loss owing to earthquake or seismic activities, we are facing 1.5 billion, over 1.5 billion. And we compared with other databases as well. The CAREC databases, they have a similar calculation for the Pakistan. So the international experts, they were involved for development of all these databases, and it can provide us curves, exceedance curves, to calculate what type of arrangements we need to make to face the future disaster. Next, please. Next slide, please. So we use basically we use both the primary sources of information through satellite, high resolution, medium resolution satellites, then digital elevation models. Then we use the secondary sources like sensor data, building typology, major crops, roads, and livestock from all the important government departments, education, socio-economic information. Few surveys are ground truthing has been done. So what are available data we have used? We have also collected the aggregated sheets from Benazir Income Support Program about their socioeconomic registry, and from many other sources. All are not mentioned here, but we have collected whatever possible. And we are in continuous process to improve these databases and the assets at risk. Next, please. So you can see that from these sources of information, we can drive the hazard situation. We can develop, do the probabilistic modeling. On right side, we can see the building typologies. We have done urban flood modeling for 5 major cities, all capital cities in Pakistan: Lahore, Karachi, Islamabad, Rawalpindi, Quetta, and Peshawar. And because it's a rising phenomena and based on the climate scenario and the projections, we need to tackle this urban flooding, and that is important. Then we have Rabi and Kharif databases, these forest cover, green cover, and for climate-related layers and information. The land use cover is important. Based on that, we can develop the risk-sensitive land use plan, which is vital for the future resilient development. So all the available information providing a baseline to move forward with for the resilient Pakistan. Next slide, please. Next. So the multi-sectoral geodatabases, we have road infrastructure, we have school and education location data, health data. So based on those, we have conducted the generalized risk assessment. Now we are in the process under the IMF and CDREP program of the Asian Development Bank to develop a detailed assessment and to share this assessment of the critical infrastructure or public assets with the National Insurance Company and other government department, so that we can move forward with the DRF instruments for their insurance, risk transfer, and at the same time we can categorize which strata of the building require the retrofitting or the strengthening, so that at least our public infrastructure and particularly the critical infrastructure is saved from the future impacts of disaster. So that is the point. Next, please. And we are following the layering approach. This database from national level up to sub-district level. We are covering the entire Pakistan, and you can see your databases, the sub-district, tehsil specific, district specific, and at the same time you can calculate hazard specific loss, average annual loss curves, the incidence curve, or the peril specific, or the area specific, so that from local level till provincial and national level, you can see what are the impacts and likely we can face on our economy, and based on that. And one more thing that is really important, that this NETCA database is providing sufficient up to 50 to 60% baseline for multi-hazard risk assessment and climate risk assessment, because all the baseline layers are there, and based on that, by adding this socioeconomic and information and the local information, you can develop the local disaster management plan and things like that. So it is a real platform providing all the information, starting information for PDMA, DDMAs at local level and at the national level for policy making. Next, please. So this is one example of the flood hazard modeling, like the flood depth map of 200 years return period. We have used 5 return periods starting from 5 years to 10, 25, 50, 100, 150, 200, and 250. So based on the return period, we can see what are the area which are under threat under a certain return period. You can see the comparison 200 years return period and 100 years return period. So far, the riverine flooding have been modeled for 7 major rivers in Pakistan, but we are expanding it to cover the remaining small rivers as well, to cover the entire country. Next, please. The climate change scenario that has been surely incorporated, like low emission scenario, the 240 SSP 245 and the high emission 585, both have been incorporated, and see especially in the hydrometeorological and disaster what will be the probabilistic situation. So you can see in the graph that with the low emission what is the situation, and with the high emission we can see that the intensity and impact is higher. Next, please. And this slide is showing the heat wave hazard maps for with a certain return period, like 25 years and maximum with 200 years or 250 years. What will be the scenario? Which are the area where we need to take steps? You can see the lower part of the country is more susceptible to the heat waves, like Karachi is always, and the other urban area, the central Punjab and upper Sindh, they are facing this heat wave big problem. So this type of information is guiding for policy making, and we can easily translate to the local level. Next slide, please.
2 minutes, Mr. Hussain.
Okay, and then most important is exposure mapping. When you have the location of all your critical asset, in this case you have the location of school and health institution and the rural infrastructure, then you can see under a certain scenario what are the assets which are at risk, and you can then identify, and then you can take the measures to safeguard them, either to relocate those facilities or to strengthen at the same place. So similarly, you can see that on right side the riverine flooding risk, which district are still at a higher risk, and accordingly you can manage and you can plan your contingency planning and something like that. UNOCHA is very much interested in our database. We are in the process of providing them the access to these databases and to many other organizations. Next, please. So whenever we calculate the vulnerabilities, we need to have the vulnerability curves for buildings, for other assets. So we have fragility curves. We have developed under this modeling by the Sparco for two-story building, for confined masonry, different type of construction. So based on that, we calculated the vulnerability, the physical vulnerability curves, and accordingly we applied the formula to assess the risk and finally the loss estimation. Next, please. And similarly, we have added the social vulnerability based on these parameter: health, age, health, educational and socioeconomic status, rural farm population, information access, and so on and so forth. Based on that, you can see where we need to put our emphasis to develop the social, because the root cause for all these things that we must consider the socioeconomic status. So I said earlier that for each peril we have calculated the curves level, provincial level, and up to district and tehsil level. So if you want to see what are the possible impact or losses for livestock, for crops, for building stock, so we can get all these information to plan accordingly. Next, please. Now to provide these access to the public, we have created the web-based application called as Risk Calculator. It is free, open access, and anyone can go to our website of NDRMF and create its username and password and go through all the perils, all the available. Only thing that they can just download the JPEG or the PDF, but not the GIS data. So this is a public interface, and you can play, you can design your map, and you can download your map, and you can go to your location, to your area, to your tehsil and district, and get all the statistical information, the reporting. You can generate a report of this particular district, and you can see what are the hazard relevant to that area and what are the level. Next, please. And one more thing, this is important, that we are among the club of 10 countries where this national level catastrophic data has been created. So this is a pride for Pakistan. Next, please. Now, what are the way forward and future plans? Because this is not one-time cut-off activity. We are continuously working on it and improving its modeling functionality and adding the perils and their functionality. We are providing, already we have developed the customized interfaces for Planning Commission, Ministry of Planning, then Federal Flood Commission, and we are in the process of to develop customized interfaces and access to NDMA, PDMAs, as first priority, then Planning and Development Department, and at the same time the development partners like banks, like GIZ, like other development partners. So through APIs or through other technical arrangements, we are very much in to provide as soon as possible the access to the database for their wider use, so that it can be used, it can be enriched and enhanced for its functionality, and we can go for resilient development and investment. And NatCat services to insurance and industry, microfinance, institution and capital market. We are already in touch, and we are planning to provide particularly the database along with the loss estimation module to the industry, so that they can play with, they can develop their business model, and they would be able to offer the product to the public for disaster risk insurance, because the insurance penetration in the country is really very less. It's less than 1%. And then possible integration through APIs with all other like databases. We have big source of information, Pakistan Statistics Bureau, Benazir Income Support Program, one of the largest socioeconomic registry in Pakistan, PMD, then provincial PMDs and PDMAs, agriculture, CNW, and other relevant organizations.
Mr. Hussain,
I have another.
we need to wrap up.
Okay. Provision of gender-specific data, that is important for safeguarding. So we are already we have incorporated, and we are further enhancing that provisions. Then providing netcat interface data to academia for research and knowledge development is a new initiative we have taken at NDRMF, that we should play our part in research and development. Integration of netcat using the AI, artificial intelligence and machine learning technology, so that we can best of the best link the databases and get best of the best as per our need and required. And the provision of services to the private sector on commercial basis. At some point of time, we are in the process to develop mobile applications, specific applications, and so many other things we are in touch with. We have already integrated netcat with the IPAS, the Ministry of Planning project, intelligent project automation system, so that for each and every PC1, then when they receive, putting the just location parameters, they can get the report that what are the hazards and risks associated with that proposed project. So accordingly they can amend. In the next step, we are just developing, incorporating AI technology, so that we can suggest some solutions that what are the alternative to this proposed development if it is not safe. So there are so many things we need to do, but it is a good start, and we are taking it forward. Thank you very much for listening and for your patience.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hussain. We're going to share your presentation, if you allow, with the colleagues. We just got it hot off the press. And thank you very much.
Yes, you can share.
And greetings to Islamabad. Bahut shukriya.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good day. Okay, colleagues, we are a little bit behind schedule. However, we have one more conversation scheduled for you, and it's a very interesting one, because it's actually about social protection and AI. And when we had recently the international conference in Bangkok on AI and social protection with many of the partners who are here, also colleagues from Pakistan were there, we realized this is really a hot topic. So maybe for the next 25, 30 minutes, we're going to have a fireside chat. We won't have a fire, I'm sorry, but at least we have 2 chairs and some water. And I will hand over to Dr. Hashim Chanpir. He is a digital ambassador for social protection at GIZ, and he is in conversation with Dr. Haidar Abbas, Director General from the National CRT. So please give them a warm welcome. And I know that Hashim has some difficult questions, but I'm sure Dr. Haidar has some good answers. And at 1:10, we are going for lunch, and then try to do that in 50-55 minutes, so that we have sufficient time for the very interactive session after, where you definitely won't be tired. So, Hashim.
Thank you very much, Joost, and thank you very much for attending, dear audience. And I welcome you all to our fireside chat. So fireside chat is basically an on-stage interview, and today we have a very important personality from the digital perspective and also from the perspective of cyberspace. So today, let's start with our fireside chat. We have 2 topics. One is AI, and the other one is information security. So these topics are somehow different, and opening a new chapter within social protection. So in this new perspective, I mean, we have been talking about policy reforms, we have been talking about potential risks, we have been talking about connectivity of organizations, interoperability, data sharing, and so on. However, it's very important now how we can empower each and everything by the use of AI. But at the same time, if we use AI, there are some risks. Not the climate change risks, not the disaster risk management, but other risks. For example, cyber attack. One cyber attack can actually devastate the whole social protection system and other systems also. So this is very important, and with this, I've invited Dr. Haider Abbas. Dr. Haider Abbas is a big name in Pakistan, but also outside Pakistan. He has done his PhD from KTH Sweden, has been living in many countries, including Sweden, USA. He has got his postdoc and other certifications also, for example, from MIT, and has been also teaching as adjunct professor at Florida Tech University in the USA. And in Pakistan, he has been teaching as a professor at NUST, professor of AI and also cybersecurity. So, very welcome, Dr. Haider Abbas here.
Thank you so very much.
So let's move on. There are some questions here, and I would also say that the audience to please also jot down your questions. We'll try to address them here. If not here, we have an open space at 2 o'clock today, and later during the open sessions you can come and meet us and we can actually address your questions also. So let's start. So thank you so much for joining us over here. So how do you see the role of artificial intelligence? Because you've been teaching here and you see, you're a veteran also, you have seen the evolution of AI, and now you see the apps like ChatGPT taking over, and there are also ethical concerns. And how do you see that AI can actually enhance the social protection initiatives in Pakistan?
Thank you so very much. Thanks for the generous introduction. I am Dr. Haider Abbas, currently heading Pakistan's National Cyber Emergency Response Team. We are basically the custodian of digital frontiers of Pakistan. So what I'll be talking today is regarding the AI. I'll give you a different perspective in terms of adversarial aspects, also in terms of cyber aspects, that what could go wrong and what could be the benefits of using AI and what could be the loopholes that could actually create devastating effect for the infrastructure that you guys are developing. All the wonderful people, the BISP and all, I appreciate all the stakeholders doing wonderful job in Pakistan, but there is another flavor that you should also keep in your mind. So regarding AI, it's a dual-edged sword. It can benefit your organizations by various aspects, right? For example, the disaster prediction kind of analytics, the AI could be used to actually predict various kind of floods, various kind of, for example, devastating kind of impacts that can actually create issues for Pakistan and all the countries where it is deployed actually. Then the AI could be used for the automated decision making, as many of you has already been using for this. For example, there is some kind of data already available. On the basis of that, you build some kind of models that can generate automated decision making and present this decision to some of the key decision makers, and can actually lower down the burden by using some kind of automated mechanism through AI. Then the chatbots is a kind of other mechanism that in social protection, the AI could help in, for example, in the phase of disaster, in phase of some kind of emergency. The AI chatbots can help you to actually get some kind of specific information that actually you need at specific, and some kind of help up to some extent that could be extracted from the data that is already available. And it can give you some kind of informed decision you can make and make that to counter that specific disaster. Then it can help you in fraud detection, right? AI identify fraudulent activities and anomalies. It has already been deployed and already been done in many of the banking sectors. There are many of the issues that we faced in Pakistan in terms of cyber attacks. Various organizational data has been compromised, and that was actually available on the dark web for the sale to be given to the hands of the people that can actually manipulate that kind of data. So the fraud detection in terms of financial frauds, in terms of organizational fraud, in kind of insider threats, in terms of specific mechanisms, AI can help you into this specific aspects.
Thank you so much. So the use of AI is actually associated with a lot of potential challenges and also barriers, and these barriers are technical as well as institutional. So in the integrity or integrating AI into the ASP system in Pakistan, especially when the resources are less and there is no, there's always reinventing the wheel and there's no sustainable settings. How do you see it? So what can be those challenges and the barriers?
You know, AI has been taken as a kind of, many people consider this AI as a replacement technology. If you consider AI as a replacement technology, this will actually sabotage, this will actually give a kind of shocking impact to your organization. But if you take AI as an assistive technology to provide you assistance in some kind of decision making, in some kind of fraud detection and all the mechanisms that I mentioned, you will have the better use of AI and you can understand that how it can work actually. For example, if we see at the cyber crisis context where this artificial intelligence latest development mechanisms are actually fueling up the cyber attacks, you are basically the custodian of the kind of critical infrastructures in Pakistan, dealing with the floods, dealing with the emergencies and all the stuff, for example, the social protection data and all the data. And if there is some kind of cyber attack and the cyber crisis that can impact a significant disruption to the compromise of resilience, responsiveness, and effectiveness of the digital systems supporting adaptive social protection systems. And you know, the Gartner in July 2021 predicted that by 2025, December 2025, the cyber attacks on the operational technology, the SCADA systems that you all are using, can actually kill humans. So they predicted this in July 2021. And the world has seen this in terms of Lebanon attack, that it actually killed humans, right? There was a supply chain attack. The technology that they procure was kind of a third-party supplier that supplied to that, and all the pagers suddenly exploded and there was many of the casualties, and we have seen that also the walkie-talkies were also exploded and there was a kind of devastating stuff. There could be fires, it can generate actual fires, it can actually malfunctioning your vehicles that you currently drive. It can malfunctioning the kind of sensors that actually collect the data. For example, all the sensors that you rely on. You collect that data and your data is basically the new oil that you base on the basis of the specific data, you make some kind of informed decisions and some kind of predictive analysis you kind of do. And if that data is compromised, that sensor is compromised, that sensor is malfunctioning, giving you the false result, or maybe, say for example, there is some kind of early flood warning and all the sensors are basically compromised because it is infinitely replicable and polymorphic kind of mechanism that can penetrate into all the systems, give you the false result that the AI model can be confused and there is some kind of emergency situation in the countries. Like these SCADA systems are actually the technology that we as a nation, Pakistan, procure from the vendors. we do not develop this technology in our country. For example, there are very less kind of percentage that we develop in Pakistan, or maybe in some of the countries that are the developing stage. So we do not know what are the back doors into that kind of specific technology that we have procured, what kind of vulnerabilities, the cyber vulnerabilities, threats they had embedded into that, their kind of intentional and unintentional back doors that can actually generate the malfunctioning for that specific SCADA systems that currently you as an organization rely on. And this can have a kind of devastating effect. Let me show you a video that actually give you understanding that if this kind of data custodian like the BIS, like the NADRA, and all the organizations have this kind of connectivity where all the data is being shared, and if this is compromised, what could be the effect of that specific compromise to a specific single entity living in some of the countries? Can you please play this? Turn on the audio, please.
Hey Mom, hey Dad. It's me, Ella. Well, a digital version of me. Just a bit older. Amazing what technology can do these days, isn't it? All you need are a couple of pictures, like the ones you share on social media, where they can be taken and used by everybody. I know for you these pictures are just memories, but for others, they are data. And for me, maybe the beginning of a horrible future. A future where my identity can be stolen just like that. Where I can go to prison for things that I would never do. Imagine my credit score being destroyed, Dad. Or my voice copied to scam you, Mom. Mom, I'm in trouble. I need you to send me money, please. I don't want to become a meme, humiliated by everyone at school.
Kill yourself, you fucking loser.
And I certainly don't want this. What you share online is like a digital footprint that will follow me around for the rest of my life. I'm telling you this because I know you love me and would never do anything to harm me. So please, Mom, please, Dad, protect my virtual privacy.
So, the data that you explicitly share on the social media is one aspect that you do yourself. The other aspect is the organization that is actually keeping your data. They have all the resources you needed, your social security numbers, your ID card numbers, your passport information and all the data, your travel history, your banking history, all the stuff, right? And during COVID-19 era, most of the organization generated gold mines in terms of text graphs and videos for the people, right? Everyone was online, the meetings were online, the family chats were online, right? So this data has been dumped somewhere. This has not gone anywhere. Believe you me. It is there and it could be manipulated and it could be used by combining any kind of database that has been compromised, and you have all the data of that specific person. You can imagine what will be the deep fake videos and deep fake audios that could be generated through these kind of data that currently we hold. So it is very important for the organizations that they keep these kind of data, right? And I'll give you some kind of suggestions also that what could be done to protect these kind of data. So this is a kind of use of AI and adversarial use of AI. I told you also the positive and the negative use of AI. So you might be knowing this, that what could go wrong if this data has gone into the wrong hands.
Thank you so much, Dr. Heather. So, so it was a very informative video, and I think the audience already, they are taking those points, jotting down the points. So, so what if the databases that, for example, NADRA or any other organization over here has also containing the personal information, if that is breached? And I can also understand why the organizations are reluctant to share the data with other organizations, because there's a potential threat, and also there's a lack of governance structure and also data protection also at the moment in Pakistan, which is actually at the moment the authorities are working on it to have it. So going on, so there are many risks, but what do you think is the biggest risk? I mean, as far as information security in ASP systems, the social protection and adaptive social protection systems is concerned, and of course they are getting digitized. And as a digital ambassador, I know we are actually working with many organizations here, and we are interconnecting them. So, what do you think? So, what are the risks and how we can protect them?
You know, many of the organizations in Pakistan, they complain that they do not get the required data from the other government organizations, right? So have you ever thought about what is the reason, what is the core reason behind this? Why organizations in Pakistan are reluctant to share the data? So the one core reason is the absence of any kind of data protection liability matrix, that if the data is compromised, for example, if, for example, the BISP has shared the data with the banks, or the bank has shared the data with the NADRA, and the NADRA has shared with the data with the FBR, right? They're interconnected. And if the FBR system has been compromised and the data, NADRA's data is leaked actually, who will be responsible? What are the data protection and data sharing mechanisms, protocols, data governance mechanism that should actually govern this whole ecosystem, that who owns the data, who is the custodian of the data, and who is the owner of the data, right? So if this kind of situation is there, then every organization would be reluctant to share their data explicitly with the organization. So there is some kind of, you could say, service disruption when you have this kind of threats, right? When you share this kind of data, data breaches could be launched, and cyber attacks could be there, and there could be some kind of data breaches, identity theft, and these kind of loss of public trust and these kind of mechanisms. Then the misinformation and the manipulation, you can say, or the disinformation is the main challenge that we as a nation also face, right? So the information that you get, there is no fact-checking kind of mechanisms available that someone can put the video or the audio and or the you can say photo and see if this is a fake or this is a kind of manipulated or the AI generated kind of mechanism that has actually creating the misinformation within the society. Then many organizations face the targeted cyber crimes when they have this kind of digital frauds. They have this kind of money matters, and these kind of things are involved. This can be also a kind of mechanism that can be exploited. Then the social protection algorithms that can also be compromised and biased with some specific mechanism that the learning model could be poisoned, and it can give you the false result. And so precisely and so trickily that organization and the normal people cannot comprehend that what is going on by tricking to the AI model, and it is giving you the false result for that specific person. And collectively, when this kind of data has been compromised and manipulated, where disinformation and misinformation is there, this becomes the threat to the national security, right?
Right.
So the data custodian, the interconnectivity of all the organization, having no data protection mechanisms, data protection strategy, data protection kind of legislation, and also the data sharing, data governance kind of protocols and mechanism. There are some organization protocols also exist, but at national level, there a kind of data protection act that is underway. Soon it will be implemented in Pakistan. Then we will see, inshallah, there will be some kind of mechanism to share these kind of. So collectively, these kind of interconnectivity actually leads the cyber attack onto that specific aspect can lead to the national security of Pakistan. That is why the organizations are mainly reluctant to share these kind of data.
Thank you. So this means that beneficiaries which we have, for example, from any program such as BISP or any other program, so there can be like a lot of manipulation, the data also over there. So we don't know whether the beneficiaries, they are real or not. And secondly, the infrastructure itself can be under threat, if not protected and audited. Right, right. So let's move on to the, maybe you would like to
have a look on this video also and see if you have this scattered information at different databases, how this could be extracted and how it can give you the financial threats. Please go ahead.
Hey Serena.
Yeah?
What you got in your bag?
It's my new heels for graduation. Good morning, guys. Guess what day it is? It's my birthday. Where are these charges coming from?
Yeah, so one thing is that you do not share explicitly. And the other thing is that many databases that are interconnected actually holds this kind of information. Some organizations have your birth date and all the details that you have. Some have the credit card numbers and all the stuff. And when they come joined together, there is some kind of manipulation mechanisms that if this data is compromised, this can give you the financial losses also and also the losses to the privacy and security of your specific aspects.
Thank you so much. So actually I met someone in Karachi and he was saying that once we pay, like if we are doing payment, for example, payment for a room over here at Marriott, then there's a small receipt that we get back, okay, that you have paid. So we need to be very, very careful with that data also because there are AI solutions over there that can extract the information and also use it again for other payments. So destroy those or keep it with you. Do not share those receipts with anybody that you don't trust.
Same thing goes for the organizations that are actually keeping this information of the people of Pakistan, for example, or any of the country, like the Germany or any country. Like the BISP is taking the information. I received a message, an email, that my text kind of reimbursement has been approved, and there was an actual amount that I text that was overpaid. And I got this email and I was actually going to reply to that thank you so very much, but then I looked at the email and all the header, it was a kind of phishing email. But the important thing is the amount that was mentioned in that specific email was exactly the amount that actually I paid the extra tax. So this means this data either has been compromised from my system or has been compromised from the FPR system where actually I lodged the application to refund my tax that I have been overpaid, right? So all the data that currently we have in the organizations requires a kind of significant protection mechanisms, because there is a kind of new devastating effects when you will combine the deepfakes, when you will combine the crypto mechanisms, when you will combine the quantum mechanisms, right? There will be a kind of world that we cannot imagine that how this could impact the personal and the organizational privacy of any organization around the world. This does not mean any developing country or the developed country. All the countries would be going to suffer from these kind of attacks that could actually give.
Thank you so much. So,
Hey, Siri.
Joost was saying we have 5 minutes, or how much time do you have? 4 minutes, okay. So let's quickly move to, I have got a few more questions here, and since you're here, I'll take the privilege. So what is the significance of data protection and information security in the context of social protection?
All right. So let me wrap up quickly. So data protection is the sensitive data, the beneficiary of the data. Personal information record is very important, right? Cyber attacks prevention, deployment of cybersecurity controls, deployment of all cybersecurity mechanisms that actually keeps the data integrity and confidentiality of the personal data and the organizational data, and collectively at the national level. The compliance of international and the national standards in terms of cybersecurity governance or the safe and secure use of AI would actually help the information security governance within the organizations.
Thank you. So that brings to the next topic, and I think I would like to have, and all of us would like to have the advice from you, because there are like high-ranking officials over here, there are policymakers. So what do you think, how shall they actually secure the systems and the data?
Yeah, one important advice that I would like to mention as a student of cybersecurity and AI, you as the custodian of the data need to work on the security by design. Security is not something that could be tailored at the end when you have developed the system. It cannot be embedded at the end. Security need to be designed from very first step till the inception of the deployment of the system when it has been done. You need to keep this please in your mind that security by design aspect should be there in any of the deployment, any of the interoperability, any of the communication that you deploy within your organization. Security by design is the must. AI ethics, the secure and safe use of AI and sanitization of AI, because AI can give you the false result so precisely that you would not be able to know that this is something that has been gone wrong. So AI ethics, interoperability and security within the communication mechanism is very important. That needs to be deployed. Pakistan has a national cybersecurity policy. Pakistan has the Pakistan cybersecurity standard, that PSS has also been deployed for the hardware and software screening. There are CERT rules also. Data protection bill is underway, soon it will be out. So these are the guidelines that could be followed. Even the NIST guidelines, the European Union has some kind of guidelines. The GDPR has some kind of very good infrastructure for that, for the data protection of the organizational data. These could be followed. And the governance and transparency is the kind of key for this data governance that actually requires the blockchain kind of mechanism or any kind of mechanism that actually give you the fraud detection kind of mechanism, that it could be tracked back, that where the attack or where the compromise has been generated and how it could be actually catered for.
Thank you very much. And because of this, we had this data interoperability workshop back in December 7th, and most of you were also there. And as you know, that we have started there the data and digital working group. And there were 5 different working groups, and one of the group was on information security. And Dr. Heather, as you know, you participated in that, and you're heading that group now. So we are looking forward to have it, with social protection projects and organizations. So then the last question, and I think then I'll give the stage free to others. So how do you envision the future of AI, information security and data interoperability, transforming social protection in the next 5 to 10 years?
So there are many initiatives by the government of Pakistan, also the private organizations in Pakistan, the government organizations that are actually trying to deploy the AI and the cybersecurity kind of mechanism in their organizations. And the national CERT, that is the National Cyber Emergency Response Team, has a kind of significant role in ensuring the social protection system by continuously monitoring the cyber threats, issuing security advisories, relevant platforms, and conducting audits and security assessments of the vulnerabilities that might happen in any kind of system that is existing in Pakistan. So we have a kind of mandate of threat monitoring of these critical infrastructure, the SCADA systems that you currently have. We are actually actively doing this, and there will be some kind of stakeholders engagement where we will invite soon all the stakeholders, say for example NEPRA, all the power sector, the BISP, the NADRA, and all these organizations to us, and we'll go to them and provide them some kind of threat monitoring mechanisms for their specific organizations. Then the security advisories already being rolled out by the National CERT and provided to all the government and all the organizations in Pakistan. Audit and assessment is a challenge for us and for this we are actually getting help from the private organization to assist us to evaluate and assess the capabilities of the different organizations that are having the critical infrastructure and the SCADA systems in Pakistan, and this has already been rolled out, and soon you will have some kind of auditing notification by the government that there is some kind of cyber audits. Yearly cyber audits will be conducted by all of the organizations that currently you have, the BISP, the NADRA, and all the organizations that currently you have in Pakistan. Then international collaboration, we're working closely with the international CERTs of many countries, like the OIC CERT, the AP CERT, Asia Pacific CERT, the China CERT, the Malaysia CERT, the Russian CERT, the European CERT, the American. So all the CERTs, we're collaborating with them. And also we are collaborating with all the national organizations, government and private organizations in Pakistan. So there will be a comprehensive ecosystem soon in Pakistan, and it has already been rolled out. Then we will work together by collective wisdom, taking your worthy suggestions also. We will make Pakistan, inshallah, a secure working environment.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haider. And I'm sure the audience has a lot of questions. And I think you have the opportunity to ask us questions at 2 p.m. open space. And the time is over now for us for this fireside chat. Thank you very much for your patience and having us here. And over to Joost.
First of all, I mean, I would have been able to go on for quite some time. Super interesting topic and very crucial. So please give a hand to Dr. Haider and Dr. Shim. Secondly, I'm not a person who likes to reduce lunch and coffee breaks, because these are also important parts of the conference. So with your permission, I will make it up, because I'm in charge of the next session. I will extend our lunch break to 2:15. 2:15. If you promise me that you are back at 2:15 and not Pakistani 2:15, which means 2:30, right? So can you give me a thumbs up that you are back at 2:15? It's very important, because I have to explain how we do the open space. If you're not here, you come in and then like everybody is all over the place and you don't know what's happening. And I don't have time to explain to you. 2:15, yeah? Two important announcements. Number one is that anybody who has flown to Karachi with the help of GIZ, they are asking for your boarding pass to the secretariat, correct? So if you have flown with the support of GIZ, you know who you are. Please go to the secretariat in the next 24 hours, I guess. Yeah? Secondly, I was informed that Mr. Farhan from BISP is actually your moderator and host. I'm fired for the cultural evening. so you have actually a more competent person. So the cultural evening is going to have a show. There will be food and there will be a show, and Mr. Fahan will be the moderator, and there will be a local artist performance followed by main performance by James Jaffa. And also I was informed, bring your money because WWF has a shop open. Okay, I was asked to make this announcement. Yes, there are already people wondering, what do I bring to my family home? We solve your problem, you can shop from WWF. Okay, once again, thank you so much. And there might be the possibility to ask the questions during the open space. So please proceed for lunch, re-energize, and see you at 2:15. You promised 2:15.